just to start, a little about myself. I graduated University of Queensland 2002. I was lucky enough to get a job where I learned Forth while programming little embedded systems for various different things. And that will become important later. Then I went underground, and by that I literally went underground, building machines for injecting explosives into tunnelling for gold mining, which was heaps fun. I went Tropo, went up into New Guinea working on gold mines, went on the gas, so control systems work on the APLNG project here in Queensland. That was a massive project, many thousand controllers, really interesting. Fully charged. I spent 2 years building and designing lithium-ion battery packs for electric vehicles, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin caught my attention like nothing else ever before. And so since 2017, this has been the only thing that I have done. So in Bitcoin, I've done a few various different things. I started out selling little paper wallets for distributing private keys. I worked with James on the original tokenized protocol. I started doing educational videos, which I published on YouTube, which got me noticed by the Bitcoin Association, who then approached me to join them to create the Bitcoin SV Academy, which I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes. I joined a consultancy called FIRE, and then left FIRE to start Elas, which is my own company. And lately I've been getting a lot into philosophy, which will come into my talk about Elas later on. So firstly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bitcoin Association and really what it is, because I think there's a few misconceptions about the Bitcoin Association running BSV or being somehow in control of it. The Bitcoin Association is an advocacy organisation. It is a technical leadership organisation, so it coordinates things like the Technical Standards Committee that James is part of. It owns the Bitcoin SV node client, which it develops on behalf of miners on the network, but it does not instruct those miners on how to use it. It simply allows them to download it and instructs them on how to configure it, but not on what to do. The Lite client is a new project, which I'm actually very excited about. It has all of the things that people typically have used a node to do, but without the burden of having to download and validate every transaction happening on the network. So it uses Merkle trees, Merkle proofs, and simplified payment verification, as it was outlined in the Bitcoin white paper, to really simplify everything for anyone. And if you're running an exchange, this is something that can really downsize the amount of work that you guys need to do to keep up with transactions on the BSV network. Terranode is the next generation node client software, and I've seen demonstrations of that doing 50,000 transactions a second. I've heard from very credible people that it's been benchmarked at several hundreds of thousands of transactions a second, but really that is our vehicle to get to millions of transactions or billions of transactions per second, which is where we are planning to go. The Bitcoin Association also has a pretty robust educational program and resources, including the Bitcoin SV Wiki and the BSV Academy. And there's actually Todd here who helps me a lot on the Bitcoin SV Academy in the audience today. So if you do have any questions about what we do there, either Todd or myself can help out with that. We do a lot of partnerships with universities all over the world, and we have a growing team. There's always new people joining the Bitcoin Association. It's actually getting big very quickly. A lot of things being covered. I wanted to look first a little bit at the Bitcoin SV Wiki. So this is actually a lot more important than it might seem. So I actually created the original version of this. I'm still pretty much the only person who updates it, occasionally with help. But it is really our single source of truth. So whenever we write a course in the Academy, if there's any uncertainty about a particular technical question, we always go back to the wiki. And it's what, if it says something in the wiki, that's the way it goes. And so that is the source of truth. It's a public wiki. Anybody can go there. There's a ton of great information about all aspects of Bitcoin. It's fairly technical. So if you need information about the scripting language or how transactions are formed or how to build things at a very low level, it's a great place to start. After sort of publishing that wiki, we started working on the Bitcoin SV Academy, and this is now growing into something pretty amazing. We have broken down the Academy by streams, and at the moment we have a stream for Bitcoin theory, a stream for Bitcoin development, and a stream for Bitcoin infrastructure. In the theory course, what we are really aiming to teach people is what was the design intent of the system, and without getting too technical, how does it function? And why was it designed to function in that way? And why is that beneficial? And so the first course, the Introduction to Bitcoin Theory, is literally a line-by-line deconstruction of the Bitcoin white paper. So we take that 8-page document, we break it down sentence by sentence, and we're looking at every sentence in the white paper and going, this is why things were designed this way. This is how it enables us to get to this final vision of a global blockchain. In Bitcoin development, we're looking at a lot of the tools that are available to people within the industry, and there's quite a huge collection of different tools. Anyone who's coming to the developers workshop tomorrow will get some exposure to those tools. Not all of them, unfortunately, because that's impossible to fit in a single day. But that development course also encompasses a lot of other what we call primitive courses, which are about more fundamental elements of the blockchain. Then we have the infrastructure course, and infrastructure is really about trying to teach people how the network functions from a systems and infrastructure perspective. So what is it that a node does? Why does it do it in the way that it does it? And how does that lead to the spontaneous formation of this amazing network that we're all using every day? And so the infrastructure course is, I think, important for anyone who's trying to build anything significant on the blockchain, because it's really going to teach you how the system that you're depending on functions, which will really help you to understand where you can push. How can I enter my millions of transactions a day into this without creating problems for myself? And that's a lot more important than you think, because we have had situations where people have started pushing millions of transactions onto the blockchain and doing it in unconventional ways, and they have broken their own systems and caused a lot of trouble. So, yes, those are just some of the basic streams that we have. These are some of the primitive courses that we offer: hash functions, Merkle trees, digital signatures. Really highly informative courses that will really teach you how these different things work. And they're all very important for understanding Bitcoin. And we have a lot more coming. So there's new courses being worked on: Introduction to Bitcoin Script, Introduction to Transactions, updated tools, and a lot more. So yes, please do check out the Bitcoin SV Academy. The website is literally just bitcoinsv.academy. Everything is free, so you can go there, you can enroll, you can take the courses, and when you complete the courses, you will be given a certificate that displays on your LinkedIn profile. And I can very much assure you that companies in the BSV space are looking for candidates who have completed these courses. And some of the bigger firms in the space are actually mandating that people who work there go and do these courses, because they are actually finding that the people who've done those courses immediately become more effective at their jobs, because they have such an improved fundamental understanding of the system and of the network. And that is very important, because this is the system that is supporting your apps, your systems that you're building, your money. You're investing into this to make something meaningful, and if you do it in the wrong way, it can all go bad. So, Now I would like to talk a little bit about Elas, which is the company that I started about almost 2.5 years ago now. But rather than looking at the nitty-gritty, the details of what Elas does, I wanted to talk more about what it represents and what Bitcoin represents as an opportunity in the context of history, society, humanity, and then we can really start to look at what's possible with our technology. And Mo will be coming up on stage after me to give you a little bit more insight into that. But I think quite a few of you will probably be pretty surprised at what is possible today. So, human history is really only known thanks to the records that we keep. And thanks to some ancient artists and teachers, we have cave paintings and artifacts from many thousands of years ago that tell us a few things about early humans. But in reality, we know very little about prehistoric society. We have vague mythology, some speculation mostly. But it is our recorded history of society which is what we build our knowledge on. And that is represented only by documents that we have access to and can read. And that record really only goes back maybe 3,000 years. Some of the earliest documents are pre-paper clay tablets. Those were used to capture records of account, crop yields, and land title. From the Greeks, mostly we have some tragedy, some mythology, a reasonable account of the socio-economy of the time, but in most of the records generated back from those days are long degraded into dust. From and of the Romans, we have a lot more, but still just a fraction of what was generated at that time. But it's important to acknowledge that in all cases where any society has endured and flourished, it has been because of a central adherence to systems of record keeping and documentation. Democracy, the idea of democracy itself, is a system of government in which the people give their permission to a small group to devise legislation and add it to a ledger of laws. So, during the Renaissance, the inventing and proliferation of the printing press led to an explosion of information, driving literacy and aiding in innovation. This, in turn, had a multiplicative effect on the number of documents being generated for publication and consumption. So, in other words, the libraries filled with books. However, the medium of paper does not endure. Without care, it easily degrades or is destroyed. Print documents can also be subject to modification and fraud. And while most people are honest and the system works, most people are honest and the system works. And despite the overhead of growing and cutting down forests, turning them to paper, transporting that paper all over the world, the wide availability of that paper and access to it has spurred people's imagination. And the resultant innovation has led to the tremendous improvement in living standards that we all enjoy today. In the last 40 years, we have slowly begun to replace a system that was based entirely on paper with one where a large array of services are wholly managed via computers and the internet, without a sheet of paper in sight. The efficiency of this medium means that with a $30 device, it is now possible to generate and upload rich content that a global audience can access seconds later. This is relevant to Lament, relevant to anyone building micro content platforms. Computer storage is cheap, dense, and ubiquitous. But file sharing methods such as email can still result in the creation of multiple direct digital copies of files on each receiver's device. This is inefficient and, like paper, can present opportunities for fraud and manipulation. As personal storage has ballooned from gigabytes to terabytes, we still did not have a simple and easy way to establish an original source for documents. So many core functions of business and government have not moved past the consumption of large amounts of paper. Legal documents and major contracts are still signed with a pen. The solution Satoshi proposed in the white paper uses transactions captured by a timestamping server to track activities within a digital cash ledger. It is the nature of the cash created within that system that makes it ideal as a medium for the capture and record of data for a diversity of purposes. Using the MetaNet protocol as a scaffold, Elas believes that we are the first company to fully realise an open world approach to building on BSV. And now for a moment, I would like you to stop trying to think about Bitcoins as a number or a token and think more about the blockchain as an unbounded ledger in which the cash element is more like a type of paper that you can use to make records. This cash doesn't degrade, and the records that are captured on it are immutable. It can be passed from person to person. It can be broken into millions or billions of tiny pieces, and just like the paper that makes physical cash, each individual piece can be used to represent something much more valuable than the Satoshi itself. In this way, we can use BSV as anything from a simple ticket or a coupon right up to a bond or a banknote or a constitution or a piece of legislation with the full weight of law, published in public with the digital signatures of the lawmakers who created it. BSV is a ledger usable by anyone, from an individual to a nation state, to a world body, to record, manage and communicate a registry of assets, resources and decisions. At Elas, we use our proprietary tools to facilitate the creation of structured data and permission layers for the blockchain. We have a diverse array of tokens and token functionality and tools that allow unparalleled flexibility, scope and scalability. Property records and asset management databases are just one aspect of what is possible. These can be implemented as a function of government or as private infrastructure, dependent on specific requirements. In many cases, the optimal path is to keep a portion of all data public as an anchor for the encrypted information. Our private ledger system allows you to create a tailored, flexible structure to allow for the most efficient breakdown and control of ownership rights. Many also don't realise that Bitcoin is built to leverage some of the most important features of the next generation internet protocol. Elas understands this and have designed our systems to readily adapt as new IPv6 devices and transport protocols are deployed. To summarise, what we have built at Elas is a technology layer that provides all of the tools needed to build your own ledger, within which you have total freedom to create structure, to set right permissions and read access. All of this is possible using the native features that are available to anybody using BSV today. It's important to remember that there are no limits in BSV, so design accordingly. The scripting language offers tremendous flexibility and potential. It is already feasible to manage large documents requiring thousands of separate signatures, to build large-scale content sharing networks, and to create cash systems with billions of daily transactions. Using Elas with BSV, you really are ensuring that your business, your platform, your service is being set up for scale. For a nation, we can provide ideal ways to manage government services. The system can be structured to give the appropriate oversight in the right places. For enterprise, we can massively improve efficiency by making it possible to build systems and interfaces that operate in fundamentally new ways. There is no other network or system that exists today which has as much potential to change the way we do things for the better as BSV. Across every part of our daily lives, we have a new means to make things cheaper, faster, and more efficient, and more honest. And that's something that's missing. There are no limits to what is achievable, and Elas stands ready to help you realize what you need. Please come and chat to Mo, Ethel, or myself about what we can do. I'm now going to hand over to our co-founder, Mohammed Jaber, who will take you through more of what's possible and our business offering.